except there is enough to go round.
So, hi everybody, welcome to Business Bold Podcast, Bold in Business, Bold in Life. I've got a very special, extra special guest here who has been on podcasts with me before, Carol May. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you here. How are you?
Thank you, Erkan. It's good to talk to you.
Well, I wanted to share with the group how we ended up. So, I haven't seen Carol probably since 2019.
Mm,
Yeah, long time ago.
yeah.
A different world ago, I'd say.
Mm,
I think we're kind of before we kind of set the call up. It was a different world, 2019. I mean, it was a different world for all of us, and we'll talk about that. And so what happened was I was going through some photos. I was looking for a specific photo, and I was going, and then I saw this photo of you, and and I will overlay it while we're speaking later. But it's a picture of you
okay.
kind of unwrapping something, and it was basically I was doing a Meet at B collaboration, and I was talking about how we can really entice people into things and they don't have to participate. It was this idea of engaging, energizing people and registering as a separate registering or getting them to commit or pay the money is a different thing to just getting people excited. But if you try and get people to pay before they're excited, they see that as pressure. So the first thing is
Yeah.
to get people really excited. I did this share about a restaurant, the Regency Curry Club in Queensbury. And I talked about this curry place. I said how amazing it was, and the food is always cooked fresh. And I've met the owners, and I asked them what's the special ingredient. They said, "Okay, you know what it is. It's love. We love what we do. We make everything fresh." And I've done such an amazing job explaining this. About five or six of our members at B Collaboration at the time, which we'll talk a bit more about, said we want to go to that restaurant. And that was a picture that night when they brought it's like a little banana leaf folded with kind of spices to freshen your mouth, like fenric and aniseed and cloves and things like that. And you'd have opened it. I think you tried it. You just went like that. There's this photo of you, and I saw that photo. I thought, wow, I haven't seen her for so long. And I know we interact on Facebook now and again. And I sent you the
Yeah.
picture, and you said to me, "There's something you said to me, and I want to be very authentic about it." You said, "I've missed our conversations."
Mm,
I thought, cool. We had such great conversations as an organization, but what big collaboration allowed us to do is have amazing conversations with individuals and each other. And I think that's so
mm.
I'd like you to explain it. But first of all, enough of my preamble. Introduce yourself to our audience and let's get on with it.
Thank you. So, yes, I'm Carol May. I am, according to my granddaughter, who has been born since we saw each other over here, a funny old bird.
Funny old bird.
So, yeah, yeah, she calls me a funny old bird. And
Affectionately called a funny old bird.
yeah, she literally does call me a funny old bird. And then she'll say, but that's what Daddy calls you. Yeah, when he's being polite,
Yeah.
right?
That's
He
the
calls
part.
me other things, but but anyway. And I have worked with and in food my whole life. And so my current persona is the ADHD health coach and therapist, but I am fully trained in eating disorders, food psychology, weight loss counseling, all that sort of stuff. But I worked out once I accepted that I had an ADHD brain, that actually that was the link to my eating issues. So that's why I went off down that road.
Mm. And I wonder. I mean, I've got quite an opinion about this stuff, and I'm sure you're not surprised that I do have opinions about a lot of things. But food has become
Mm,
something that's become more and more of what I'd consider to be personal wealth, like the food
mm,
we eat and the food we have access to. Um,
yeah,
I love food. I mean, I've done periods of fasting and like not eating for two or three. Well, no, I've never made 3 days, but I've done 2 days. I
right.
I found it a very amazing experience. I suppose we could talk about. But what I'd like to share about that is I'm growing food. And since I've been in
Okay.
Cyprus, I've had the opportunity to grow food. And the other day, my daughter came, Senna came, who's 18 now, and we picked lettuce. I've got four types of lettuce in the garden. We picked fresh mint, fresh
Mm,
parsley, lemons. I've got celery growing. I've got all sorts of things which I'll love to share with you, Carol. And we
mm,
make this salad. I think the only two things we added that aren't ready in the garden yet was cucumber and tomato, which are
Okay.
still grown here, but they're not grown in the garden, which is a different thing. And we sat and ate, and she said, "You know what? I think that's the best salad I've ever eaten."
Mm,
And it's a
And
lie.
you know why?
Oh, well,
Because
I've got to argue. You tell me why, because you're the
you've
expert.
grown it with love.
Yeah,
That's
for
why.
sure. For sure. But also, no chemicals. I don't spray anything on
Exactly.
the sun,
That
pure sun and water, and that's it. And a
mm,
bit of elbow grease, a little bit of back breaking stuff. But
yeah, yeah.
such, like I get I was talking to a friend of mine in South Africa the other day, and I said, I've just had a little tizzy. And I said, what? He was like, well, what you done? What you done? I said, I've got a cucumber in my garden. He goes, mate, what are you like? Are we like 50 something? I said, yeah, I am. I said, it's just the most amazing experience. And
Mm,
we're blessed. Our garden has oranges, lemons, tangerines, grapes, lots of flowers, roses.
Fabulous.
Like about 2 months ago, I picked all the oranges and tangerines and I juiced them. I made cordial. I froze juice. I put it in the freezer. I dried them and made those round, like kind of dried,
Yeah, yeah,
what I mean? I don't know
yeah,
what you
yeah.
call that. Yeah,
Mm,
dried oranges. And it's such a, and I've got friends saying to me, what have you been doing? I go, I've been squeezing oranges all day. They go, that's amazing. I said, it is.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it
And there's
is.
something about that food when you ingest it. And I remember coming to Cyprus originally when I first got here. And I went to families, or I went to friends, and they'd always have something from the garden on the
Mm,
table, whether it be lettuce or it was oh, this is from the garden, or eggs from the chickens, or so
yeah,
they've kind of they live with that commonly in all of their life experiences. Like whether it's the mum and dad do it or the grandparents do it, or they're all growing something, and
yeah.
and I think it's still very much valued the
Mm,
effort it takes to grow your own food and the benefit
mm.
it gives you. So
I grew up, my parents were they'd lived through the war, the Second World War. So, I was born when they finally ended meat rationing, in the year they finally ended meat rationing. And
can I ask what year that was?
54,
54.
1954, right? So
Wow.
that's how long rationing lasted
So that was
after
a
the
good 10 years after the after.
yeah. Yeah. So, of course, during the war, people had grown food. So, my grandparents grew food, and then my parents grew food. And it was something my father always did. And it was something I learned with him. And, I learned how to prick out plants, and they were, because invariably vegetable plants. We did grow flowers, but, vegetable plants. And this thing of there's a new thing over here where you pay a monthly subscription and they send you three big flower pots and the seeds, all the plants to start growing vegetables, and then you get three more the next month and blah blah blah. And I said to my partner, we ought to do that in your garden because I still live in the flat that I always lived in. Um, and and he went, but don't you need a vegetable patch? No, you can grow vegetables anywhere in the garden, in amongst all your flowers and everything else. Now, I discovered at the weekend his garden is infested with ground elder. It's going to take us a couple of years to get rid of that. So I just said to him, well, we'll grow them in pots.
Yeah.
We'll grow the vegetables in pots. I said,
Well, I saw something on YouTube yesterday. I guess the algorithm is picking up that I'm looking at growing food, and they're growing tomatoes in buckets upside down.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I
there's
used to grow
so
them
many.
in hanging baskets.
Yeah.
I used to grow the little mini ones in hanging baskets, and then the rest were in tubs. And although I had a vegetable garden, and my father used to do a lot of work in it, and we shared everything when I was married, but and the ground was superb because my mother-in-law had put cow manure on it for years and years and years from the farm. So it grew really good vegetables, but I experimented even back then, 40 odd years ago, with growing stuff in tubs and baskets.
It's more.
Uh,
Yeah.
They grow really well.
The other thing that really, I mean, I get up in the morning, I get my herbal tea on, or a nice lemon water with my little Celtic salt, and I walk around the garden, and
Hmm.
and I don't know if people could believe it. One, that I do this, but two, that you can see the growth overnight.
Oh, yes. Oh,
That's
absolutely.
the thing that really shocked me is like you think, when you look at things growing, they're just there, they're static. They're not. They're
No, they're not.
growing, they're growing, they're taking. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got mint that just overnight, just like that. And then what
Yeah.
I can't say it. Obviously, the sun here is a big factor,
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Good soil. I mean, the soil here is red, but it's just how actually it's not as slow as you think it is. It's a lot quicker. I'm going to have tomatoes within, I don't know, 6 weeks,
Mm,
aren't they?
mm,
And I'm doing things
yeah.
from seed. I've done
Yeah.
buying them as what they call saplings.
Yeah.
On that, I've done seed as well. I want to grow.
Mm,
I've got watermelons coming, honey melons, peppers, chilies,
lovely.
aubergines.
Lovely.
I mean,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
incredible. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
what since 20, well, okay. She turned up with B collaboration.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, when do I remember you turning up? But I remember, what I do remember is us going to meetings together.
Mm,
You used to
yeah.
jump in the
We
car with
used
me
to
and
go to
Jules.
some of, yeah, the other meetings.
I'd pick you up
But
from your flat.
they weren't in existence when I came to the Hartford meeting when that was the only meeting.
Yeah. So we started off with
And
Hertford, and then
yeah,
slowly, then we started Central London.
yeah. And
Remember?
I loved that meeting. I
That
always loved that
Central London
meeting.
was a lovely meeting. It was like
Yeah,
a day out.
I think it was my favorite one because, we used to, a group of us went up in your car. It was always your car. And um and and you were doing videos from the front seat. I know, remember you doing one of me in the back seat. And before this thing was really the thing to do on social media, and you were doing all of that. And then the venue was fantastic, right by the river and Tower Bridge. And and we used to have amazing meetings there. There was something about the energy
Yeah.
there. Was it the river? Maybe. I don't really know, but I always enjoyed those meetings because people would come from other parts further out of London who we wouldn't normally meet up with.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, you
Yeah.
know,
I think it was a great space. Yeah, I think there is something about being in Central London. It's a beautiful
yeah,
place. There's that. I think you're right. I think it's the mix of people. With
yeah.
more visitors and guests come to that meeting than any other.
Mm,
Uh,
mm,
and yeah, I
mm.
guess that's the beauty of being in the big smoke. I guess I used to love that. I loved all our meetings, and I love what I loved. I don't know if I probably have shared this somewhere, but it's been a while. Is watching people come as guests, then they join, and we'd have this thing at B collaboration, B call. We'd
Mm.
say to people, we're not going to ask you to join. If you want to be part of this, you're a grown up. Let us know, and if we're happy
Yeah,
to
yeah,
have you join, we'll let you join. But we're not going to
yeah,
ask you. We're not going to beg you. No one's going to close you. We're going to treat each other like adults. And then people
yeah,
would join, and then they'd come along, and then we'd let them do the values. We'd do the values. You remember?
yeah,
And then
yeah.
they'd go and do be inspired, because no one could do the know and be known until they did the be inspired. And then once they
Hmm.
did the be inspired, they got to do the know and be known. And that was about people sharing about themselves, like who they are,
Yeah,
what's important, what their passion, what their and then contribute some of what they know in their profession, what they
yeah,
whether they're web designers or they're whatever they are, give us some value,
yeah.
teach us about. So as members, we had a good idea of who they were. What do I like them? Do I want to go on into a
Mm,
collaboration with them? Would I refer them to somebody? And then we'd let people then developed in the way that we were looking for, like a very
mm.
authentic self-expression, a co-created kind of space. They weren't too in their
Mm.
ego, and they weren't, wallflowers, and they were like, in
That's
themselves,
right.
they're expressed. We'd say you could do a genius slot. And there was this like, to get to do the genius slot was
Oh
like
yeah.
was the thing to do, wasn't it? Yeah, that was
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
was my spot up until the meetings got too many, and then we,
Mm,
that was always my spot. But it was just a
mm,
beautiful. I mean,
mm.
I've been sharing a lot more about bee collaboration, or the art of collaboration here in Cyprus, and
Yeah.
I think we need it now more than ever, because I don't know if you're aware of the politics here at the moment, but the you've got America and Israel attacking Iran. They've got
Yep.
all that conflict going on, and we recently had apparently a drone land on the British base, which has got all the a load of European frigates and warships surrounding
Mm,
the Greek side or the Republic of Cyprus side, and then Turkey's
mm,
been sending in F-16s and all sorts of troops and stuff like that. So tensions are building up, but the people, and we've got so many good friends. I did a comedy event in English on the Greek side about 2 weeks ago, and I
hmm
did and 3 weeks ago I did a Turkish stand-up event in Turkish, which is funny in itself. And the day-to-day experience of going over to the Greek side or them coming over, it's like we
mm,
couldn't be more the same. And
yeah.
such a desire to well, they call it bicommunal activities and collaborate.
Right.
So I'm building those connections at the moment, and
Mhm.
I am I'm sharing this with you because this is hot off the press. A friend of mine from South Africa is coming over soon, and we're going to do an event which will start the very first Be Inspired since I last did them in 2019.
Excellent.
I'm going to re-update that. So we're going to start
Mm,
doing that, and we're starting talking about collaborating and um,
mm.
getting the people together because
Yeah.
they don't want war. They're not interested
No,
in it.
nobody does. I say nobody, but
Yeah, I know.
ordinary people don't,
No, why would
right? They don't.
no?
They don't. No.
So that's kind of like it's interesting, like like it's brought all that back again, all
Mm,
the years of work we put into Be Collaboration, that at the end of that
mm.
it kind of, I feel like I'm confessing at the moment. I guess I'm updating you because the desire to make a difference and impact humanity was always what Be
Yeah, yeah.
Collaboration was about. It was
Mm,
impacting humanity, and I used to say this back then. I'm sure it must have sounded strange then, but I don't think it sounds so strange now. I used to say while we're collaborating, and it was off the back of the spirodynamics work and the Claire Graves's work around human consciousness. We're doing it for the survival of the species because
yeah, yeah.
we don't collaborate. What's to become of us if we carry on
Yeah.
this trajectory? Is what I used to say to people. I used to think I was crazy, and now
Mm,
it's all rolling out. They're lining up
mm,
for World War III, fighting over resources, fear, scarcity, and competition. There's no
mm.
love, there's no connection, and there's definitely no abundance. There's not enough to go around. So we've got to fight
No.
for everything.
Except there is enough to go round,
Exactly.
right? And and I think that, we're getting the fear and scarcity thing here about food right now. And at the supermarket shelves, they're going to have empty shelves. Meanwhile, our government seems to be hell bent on covering every possible acre of food producing land with concrete or solar panels. And, I put out a post today because there was a farmer who said, I've moved twice already because they've compulsorily purchased my home and my land. I'm not going a third time. And he said, I'm 75. Do you know what? They could just, and it was the F word,
Mm.
right?
You
And
can
I
swear.
thought,
You can swear on the show if you want to.
okay, right. So he said, I can fuck it,
Yeah.
right?
Beep, beep, beep. I
And
apologise for that disgusting behaviour by one of our guests. No, I'm joking.
sorry, yeah, yeah.
No,
Um,
exactly.
but and I put that out on social media, and some of the comments are, so where should we build? I said, so can you tell me where it says that we need 1.5 million new homes? Why aren't homes selling that are built? Oh, let me see. Yes, nobody actually wants them. They're too expensive. Mortgages are hard to get, blah, 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 blah.
And all by
Right?
design, Carol.
I know. And that's the thing. That's the thing. And, we used to have these conversations, didn't we,
Yeah, I was
at
going
B
to.
Collaboration,
Yeah.
right? And then I went through COVID feeling very alone because there was nobody to have those conversations with. I was alone in my flat. I couldn't see my family, all this sort of thing. Couldn't see my granddaughter. And since then, I have met a man who similarly felt alone during COVID. because he is of the same opinions as you and I. And we have these, he and I have these conversations nearly every day. And, it's just like what I cannot understand is if I can see how all the dots join up and others see it too, why aren't the politicians? Oh, actually, they are. This is a deliberate plan.
Well, let me.
And that, now as a grandmother, I've got a grandson now as well, and there will be others, I'm sure. And I've suddenly gone into that place of real anger about what these people are doing to our world and what kind of world will my grandchildren inherit? And then my daughter, who's 41, she actually said that to me the other day. And I'm thinking, okay, not just me then. This is going down now into she's a millennial. And as I said, so what are we going to do about it?
Well, look, I mean, I know this isn't lost on you, but for the audience, what did you think B collaboration was about? Just exactly what it was about.
Collaboration, yeah, was about for me. I mean, I said, didn't I, after the first meeting I went to, and I said I felt I'd found my peeps
Yeah.
because we
You
were
the one that coined
having
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we were having those important conversations without all of the stuff you get online, which is the what I call the keyboard warriors and all the anger and the aggression and everything. We were just talking about it with an open mind and an open heart.
I think if you went back now, I don't know when you last read the B collaboration vision and mission. Probably not since we used to, because we used to read it a lot
No,
back then. It was what we
yeah,
went over and over
we
again.
did.
We went, look, so this is all about context. The context of this organization is solving
Mm,
the seemingly unsolvable. You know,
mm,
we're citing collaboration or the spontaneous collaboration of humanity as the only way that we're gonna take control of the situation. But
yeah,
first of all, we have to have an understanding of the challenge. And that was the bit that got me into a lot of, I wouldn't say criticism, but people struggle to get there. I,
yeah.
I,
Hot water. I would say it was hot water, Erkan.
but I'd say things, and they'll go, "Oh, come on, okay, you're saying that they're spraying chemtrails, blah, blah, blah." Yes, because I've been studying this for 20 years. Now, the government have openly admitted that they're spraying the skies to reduce the sun, and they explain it with barium and aluminium and strontium
Mm,
to, you know, but
mm,
like yes, there's this whole what's the word? Stigma.
yeah,
If you're thinking
yeah,
if you're thinking a certain way that doesn't match the mainstream, there's something,
yeah,
there's something, oh, where'd you get that on the internet? Well, where do we get most things now?
yeah.
Like where do you think you're going to get it? These books are hard to find in the anyway. So the thing was, it was like to me, there's when I wrote the vision and mission,
Mm,
people come, people had come, and then they come back like a year or two later, and they went, "This is amazing, this vision and mission. What did you change in it?" We said, "Only one thing." Only one thing since when I first wrote it to
mm,
now was one thing. I did one value, human being first.
mm,
Everything else comes after. I don't know if you remember that, right? And what we're
yeah.
saying is, I'm starting to say this stuff here and now again. I'm starting to get
Mm,
back into that zone. Is that really,
mm,
if you take out the contextual domain of being a woman, a husband, a father, a mother, a daughter, an accountant, or whatever it is you do for a living, you take all that
mm,
away, you strip away all that, your culture, your language, your religion, your
mm,
ethnicity, whatever, all of
mm,
that, you strip
mm,
away what you're left with. You're left with the bare essentials of what it is to be a human being.
mm,
Right. And I
mm.
think and I heard this podcast the other day and they were talking about like the thing is we are spiritual entities having a human experience. We're not even
We
human
are.
at a level, right?
Yeah.
Depends what you want to
Yeah.
believe or think, right? And I think we've been so hoodwinked by the
Mm,
controlling entities. We don't, there's a saying, we don't know your arse from a hole in the ground. We are so
no.
bamboozled. We don't know about food,
Yeah.
we don't know about education, we don't know about medicine. I mean, I'm sure for me, food and medicine are practically, they're linked at such a level that
mm,
I haven't taken any pharmaceutical concoctions in
yeah,
decades. And I
yeah,
dealt with my own blood pressure issue purely off my own back. I didn't take any, well, I did at first because due to ignorance, and ignorance
yeah.
just go with what they tell you. And I
That's
thought,
right.
I ended up in hospital with high blood pressure about just over 3.5 years ago, about to
Mm,
explode. And he said to me, the doctor said, you're going to be on blood pressure pills for the rest of your life. And I looked at him and said, you didn't like that, did you? I said, no, doc, thank you. Really, in my ignorance, you've been here for me and you've done the best you know. But in a month,
mm,
I'll know more about blood pressure than anyone in this hospital. And he just
mm,
looked at me like startled. I'm like, I will. Because I
mm,
know that no one here really knows about blood pressure or
mm,
any medical issue. And
mm,
I think you can use food and minerals and supplementing in
mm,
such a
mm.
way that gives you the building blocks to be as healthy as you dare.
Yeah.
Because,
And actually, that's all we need,
yeah,
right? Not, obviously, if you have something really seriously wrong with you, and I have absolutely no criticism of anybody that takes medication, pharmaceutical medication for
oh,
stuff.
so let me be clear. I think it's a matter of the level of where you are in your consciousness. It's not something to ridicule or tell people.
Yeah.
I say to people, I had a actually I'd like to share this with you. I had a friend, not a friend, one of my clients' key management team. Really nice
Hmm.
guy. I'd consider him a friend, and he had
Mm,
cancer.
mm,
And he was going through chemo, and he had another
mm.
chemo come in, and he was in the chemo world. And I was like, should I tell him or should I not tell him? And me before, I just jump in and go,
You would.
and I didn't. I
No,
didn't, Carol. I didn't. I thought,
no.
you know what, it's not my place. And I didn't say anything. He died about a month ago, and I was really sad. And I had a bit of a tear up, if I'm honest. And the reason
Mm.
I cried a bit because I felt I'd sold out on him.
Yeah,
But
by
I
not
explained,
sharing.
huh?
By not sharing.
Yeah, by just not saying to there's all these other ways you can deal with your cancer because
Mm,
I'd put myself out so much in the past that it
mm,
left me, you know, exhausted, depleted, ridiculed, laughed at,
mm,
all sorts of
mm.
things. And I thought,
Yeah,
you know what?
you and me both, actually, because talking about food and supplements, and even how I would get clients to test themselves for how much of the supplements they needed, because, a dose for a 6'4", 40-year-old man is very different than, a 5'3", 75-year-old, for instance. So, everything is different. And can't think where I was going with this. This is my problem with my ADHD brain, that it goes off down a rabbit hole and then I kind of lose
Sorry,
the
what are
end
you
of the.
talking about?
Yeah, what was I
I
talking
don't
about?
really want. I tell you what, I would add. Though. I would add to that.
Well, yeah, food and food stuff. So, for instance, one of my teachers over the last 20 odd years has always been a man called Patrick Holford, who
Oh,
set up,
I know Patrick.
yeah, School of Nutrition and everything. And I did some training with Patrick. Well, a couple of maybe 3 years ago, maybe only two, he brought out a book about the brain, about brain health. And he came to Hartford to speak. So, got to go there, right? Took my bestie with me, who has never listened to me about food and health in her life, right? And we sat there, and it's like her brain was exploding, and she went, "You've told me all of this, but I didn't listen, did I?" "No, you didn't." "I said, you're going to listen to Patrick." "Oh, yes."
Yes.
Right. And so, she and I have different conversations now, but what blew my mind was that um, you know, he reckons, based on all of the research he's done, and he collates research from all over the world, that 85% of Alzheimer's can be avoided by food and supplements.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that is like a massive thing, right? Then you add in what is needed for an ADHD brain, and it's exactly the same supplements and food as you do to avoid Alzheimer's. And I'm just like, right now, he's been all over social media. Nobody's shouting at him, but they always used to shout at me.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I just thought I might just as well throw spaghetti at a wall and expect it to stick
Mm,
as keep talking about this stuff. And then, but what's happened is the universe has sent me people who want to know more,
mm,
ask me questions. And I'm currently going to a McTimoney chiropractor in Thundridge, and we were talking about turmeric and inflammation,
mm,
because inflammation is the issue, it's the basis, the cause of so much that we suffer in our bodies. And we were talking about this, and so we had this lovely conversation about it, because she knows somebody who's trying to create something as a supplement. And but then she said, I've given up talking to people about their health
mm,
because they don't listen.
mm.
And if that's one message I want to give all the people who are watching this, it's listen. Listen to people who have knowledge, expertise, and skills that you don't have. Just be more open-minded, open-hearted to the fact that what you're saying about something may in fact just be propaganda that you've absorbed from somebody else who's making money on it. Simple as that.
Or, if I may,
Yeah,
it's not that just that, that is a very obvious layer of it as well for me,
yeah,
making
yeah.
money.
But there's more.
There's more, right? So,
Yeah,
although this isn't that show, it
yeah. I
is.
know.
That's not
Sorry.
where. No, but it's fine. No, no, no. But it's like I think it's actually worse than that. My research has taken me down the road that this is about population control. You know,
Yeah,
there's something
yeah.
called Codex Alimentarius, where all the companies got together, the food companies, and they took nutrition out of food.
Mm,
It's like
mm,
you couldn't make it
mm,
up. So you kind of ask yourself, okay, so what are the agendas here? You know,
mm,
and so for me, what was very very important for me about BCon, if we're going
mm.
to work on health, we have to understand
Yeah.
there was a health system set up by the Rockefeller Foundation, and they took away. I mean, I listen to people that say, "Look, I've got iodine at home.
Mm,
Iodine. I've got a hawthorn tree, a
mm,
lovely, beautiful hawthorn tree just opposite me here, and I stop and pick its leaves, which
mm,
hawthorn's very good for your blood pressure and probably
mm,
other things, right? So lemon, the skin on lemon, the lemon zest, you know,
mm,
there's
mm,
so many things that are usable. Cayenne pepper,
mm.
it would be in your food cupboard as your medicine,
Yeah,
and yet we've been conned into taking what really is a hydrocarbon based medical it doesn't even cure anything, and
yeah.
I think that's just medicine. Why don't we talk, remember, be inspired, we talked about money, education, and the media. Let's look at the government, how the government's set up and who set them up. And it's
Mm,
just, if you're willing to ask the questions, you can't now say, if you want to know how things really work, and that was the thing that inspired me to do Be Inspired, was I kept on asking, why was there famine, disease, debt, war? Is because it's by design. It's what you just said earlier on. It's by
mm,
design.
mm.
You've got companies selling you 3 meals a day breakfast. You know what I heard the other day, Carol? So I don't know where it was. I can't, forgive me for that, but it was this 8 hour sleep concept was brought in by mattress
Oh
companies.
yes. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
best meal of the day breakfast. We say it like a pat. Best meal of the day breakfast. Best meal of the day breakfast. 8 hours sleep, and you've been brainwashed by the most
yeah,
powerful organisations.
yeah.
Um, you know,
It's the same as the 10,000 steps. That was developed, that's a marketing message from Garmin when they developed the, wearable tech thing.
because everyone
And
wants
it
to
was,
count how many steps they got now. Do you know what I do
Yeah.
here? Do you know what I do here? That is absolutely amazing, and I feel almost embarrassed telling you this, not you, but admitting it, is
Yeah.
I nap during the day. It's
Oh yeah,
such
me
an
too.
amazing, and here it's part of the culture. If you say
Yeah,
to
yeah.
somebody, "Oh, I won't be able to speak to you between 1 and 3," I nap. You know,
Oh, that's why you wanted to bring our recording forward then, because it interfered with your
I
nap.
thought I'd have a nap while we're doing it. But if I feel sleepy now, I just, you know what, I'm going, and
Yeah,
apparently, what I'm learning more and more about naps is they're brilliant for your mental health. They're fantastic for your
yeah,
immunity. You'll live
yeah,
longer, less stress.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I look after my grandson 3 days a week in my daughter's house. So I stay there. And my grandson is 16 months old, and we've progressed him to one long sleep a day, which is usually 2 to 2.5 hours. And so what I do is I have a little nap at the same time, if I can, right? Yeah, right. And but what I used to do when he was younger was he liked contact naps. So he would, and he would do it with my daughter, but he wouldn't do it with her partner. And he said, "Well, how do you do it?" I said, "It's to do with giving them your love and your time and holding them securely. They feel safe." And they will just, and everything else. But what I used to do was I'd sit on the sofa with him just in case I also dropped off. But there is nothing wrong with that. But
No,
I used to say, "Oh, you can't do that." And my bestie, she always had an afternoon nap. And I said, "It's all right for her." I don't know why I used to say it like that, but that's the sort of thing my mum would have said. Oh, it's all right for her. But actually, we can all do it and we all
yeah,
benefit from it.
yeah, definitely. And I think we've been lied to about so much.
Mm.
I think probably now more than back in 2019, people are
Oh, yeah.
generally are far more aware. I think this COVID era did bring to the attention, that these matters, and I think people are making different choices. I mean, I think the other thing I heard is a lot of people have left England. They kind of go, you know what, I don't want to live here anymore. All the new
Mm.
rules, all it was happening when I was there in 2019 during COVID, no, 2020. They were
Mm.
narrowing the roads, putting 5G masts everywhere, and you go out and there's suddenly these low traffic neighborhoods, and
Ah.
this is not. We've been locked up for 3 weeks. You come out and there's new masts everywhere.
Mm.
And
Mm.
back then I was
Mm.
telling people, these 5G masts, they're not for your telephony experience. They're for other reasons, and people again, so now
Yeah.
I think there's a saying my mum says. It's in Turkish. It goes, "Her kuzu kendi bacağından asılı." Every sheep hangs on its own leg in the end. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
kind of reap what you sow. It's karmic
Yeah.
or causality. Like at the end of the day, if you're gonna, uh, we've had a very close family member recently do chemo, and we said,
Mm.
but they don't, they think that's the best thing that for them, that's the best thing they
Yeah.
can do, and that's what they know. And at the end of the day,
Mm.
you've got to let
Mm.
people choose what they want to do.
Yeah.
So tell me,
Absolutely.
so when you work with people, let's just
Mm.
about you. So ADHD women, helping them um, gain control, because I wrote it down, gain control of their, what do I put here?
Food and eating.
Food. Yeah. So what happens with ADHD? Is it the same for men and women? You just happen to specialize in women, or is it a different thing for women?
I tend to work with women because women have been forgotten. Women's health has been forgotten, and and our bodies are so very different from midlife onwards, and so I tend to work with women. It did not preclude men, but I just never met a man who wanted to be a client. So it just tended to be women. And because I was in lots of WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups and stuff for late diagnosed ADHD women. So it kind of sort of went from there. But men have the same issues. in that we tend to, we forget to eat. We're not great at planning food. We will very often, we'll have a fridge full of food, but nothing to eat. It's a bit like your wardrobe. You got full of wardrobe, no clothes to wear. We, if we're on medication, so ADHD medication is all based on amphetamines, and amphetamines dull your appetite. So what happens is that, it lasts a certain length of time during the day, and then the effect of the medication stops, and you fall off a cliff, and you want food like crazy. Now, for some people, they manage to get through the day, and then it happens during the night. So, you know, I remember my nephew would do that. He'd trawl the kitchen at night because that's when he was hungry. Um, but there's lots of different types of medication now, which there weren't
And when you
when.
say women controlling their ADHD food, is it women that are on medication specifically, or that have been diagnosed with ADHD, or people that have certain eating habits that are linked to some level of? Because I imagine
Yeah.
ADHD is a spectrum thing. It isn't you're like full on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Same as
brilliant.
autism. Yeah, yeah. So what very often happens is that children are diagnosed at school, and then the parents go, hmm, which one of us did it come from? Right?
Is it that kind of thing? Is it passed down, or
Yeah,
is it something else?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it's passed down. And so it is the way your brain is formed when you're growing in the womb. And it's the way the connections are made. So it is not a developmental issue. It's not a mental issue. It is a wiring issue in your brain.
It's hardware.
It's hardware, right? And but because we all have, you mix that in with your personality, your genes, where you are in the family. So, like, I'm the eldest. Um, but then you start looking back at, I am diagnosed, but you start looking back, and I realize, oh, my father, it's come from my father, right? Now, has anybody else in my family had it in the past or everything? I don't know. I have no idea. I just know that my sister and I, it's us and our families. But we are different. She and I are very different. So our character is very different. Our lives are very different. And therefore, whilst there are some similarities, there are also some things that, she will do and I won't, and vice versa. So, I can look at my children and see traits. Now, would they be diagnosed? I don't know. Do they care? No, they don't. Right?
See,
Because,
I've got to say, I'm a little bit kind of uh, suspiciously
okay,
curious about the
yeah,
rise of ADHD and Alzheimer's and dementias and cancers have been, in my understanding, been quite linked to the proliferation of vaccines and injections at a young age as well.
right.
So yes, I hear first. I mean, again, you're telling me something that I haven't heard is that
Mm,
ADHD is formed in the brain, but also
yeah.
there's a lot of argument that says that ADHD has been created because of all these injections that we had growing up.
There
And
is an argument, but there's no evidence for that at the moment. Now, I'm not saying there isn't a connection because I don't know,
mm,
but what I do know is that you can't catch it, you can't create it, you are born like it. And it's only as we grow that it becomes obvious. And it depends on the mix of all the different neurodivergent traits that you have.
So that's another new term, isn't it? Neurodivergency.
Yeah.
That's
You know,
that.
it's become a, what do you call people? Now I used to say I used to use the term neurospicy, and apparently that is, you just don't use that. And I'm like, why? Why can't I use that? Because I quite like that, because it kind of,
Well, because of
it's,
someone will get offended, won't they?
you know, and and I come from an era which would just say suck it up, right? Because it's like, you know, there's more going on in this world that is much more important than your hurty feelings from hurty words. Sorry, shouldn't say that, should I? But it's true. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
And this sort of hurty words thing, and you just think, you know what? Maybe you just need to grow up a little bit. And I think that the problem is with all of this neurodivergent um, thing is that I don't think it's any more prevalent. I think it's just more diagnosed. And I think it's more diagnosed because people see the medication as a solution.
Well, that's kind of what I was hinting at, because I'm always suspicious that there's new, like you got like the which I'm sure you're far more educated in this than I am, but I did a quite a bit of research on cholesterol, and the cholesterol,
Yeah. Oh,
the myths
yeah.
around cholesterol and the links to heart attack and how much of it was falsified and how much of it is a hoax, and it's just the pharmaceutical companies selling statins.
Yeah,
I've been going to
it
the
is.
doctor for
It is.
30 years. Every time I go there, oh, your cholesterol's too. I go, cheers, thanks, see you later. And I haven't
Yeah.
checked because
Yeah.
because I'm clear it's not something I need to do anything about. But
No.
how many people go and take the statins or take the blood pressure pills and then there's a side effect to that pill and then
Yeah.
look at people
Yeah.
like ours probably 60 and up or a bit more than that. They're going
Mm.
around these boxes of pills. Do they work? Well, don't they
Yeah.
work? You know?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, my mum, when she, because my mum had Alzheimer's, when she went into a home near the end, they stopped all her medication. I used to make up a Dosset box for her, and nothing changed. Nothing happened. Okay, clearly, not none of it was effective. And I follow Dr. Asim Malhotra because he talks about cholesterol. He's a cardiologist, and he's been so vilified in the press, and you think, yeah, I wonder where that comes from.
Well, if someone's been shadow banned, lost their license, taken to,
Yeah.
then that's
Yeah, they're trying to take away his license at the
yeah,
minute.
yeah, they
And
will.
it's like, and he is so determined. I think, yeah, you need to, because I used to work for a GP at one time, and I said to him once, look, I said, can you tell me why this patient you want them in and their cholesterol level is 4.5, say, and this patient you don't need to see them and their cholesterol level is 7. He said, yeah, we can talk about that. And I said, okay, so because I'm curious. I'm just curious. And he said, so, this patient has heart disease, has a history of heart disease in the family, nearly every member of the family. Therefore, their risk level is higher. Doesn't matter what that number is of the cholesterol number, their risk level is higher. So I need to monitor them more closely. The other person, nothing in the family, nothing genetic, no heart issues, no stroke, da, 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 da. And that is his normal figure. His figure is always that.
Yeah. So
And
context is key, isn't it? You got to look at the
well, it's
whole.
what we always said, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Context was key, and that's what I've lived by, and so and also the healthy level of cholesterol used to be 10, now it's 5. Why is that? Oh yeah, statins.
Yeah, exactly. So
So
listen,
rocket science, right?
we're coming close to because I promised people it won't be more than an hour. What
Yeah.
what two or three things or whatever? What would you like to say to sum up maybe something that people could consider around their food or their health that you think is kind of like, just take this one or two things on and
Hmm.
you'll never look back.
Hmm.
What would you cite those
What
as?
I always tell clients is you buy the best quality you can afford. best quality food you can afford. Don't listen to anything online about it. You buy the best quality you can afford and you cook from fresh.
Oh, fantastic.
And,
Great
you
advice.
know, it's I've taught cooking all my life.
I
I
remember.
teach kids at the minute, and my granddaughter said to me, "Oh, Nonna, will you please teach me how to cook? We bake, but she wants to know how to cook food, you know?" And that was like music to my ears. She's only said she wants to learn how to do it.
Brilliant. Isn't that
And I think it's
fantastic?
very important.
Yeah. Lovely. So, if people want to get in touch with you,
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit harder to find these days, but I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.
can I put those links below this video?
Yep,
If anyone wants to get in
absolutely.
touch with you, anyone's got
Yeah.
ADHD or dietary concerns, they can get in touch with
Yeah, I
you.
just want to talk about it, because
Yeah.
I think there's so much about dieting, and even more so at the moment with the fat jabs. And
Yeah. Yeah, that's concerning.
I see a lot of pain out there. I see a lot of cliffs people going to fall off.
Okay, so let's leave it on an upbeat. So I like the idea of cook fresh
Yeah.
foods, make your own food. After listen, I grew up with that. I've always
Mm,
one of the things that when my daughters come and visit, they say, "Dad, Tyler, the older one, says, right, I want you to make me this. I want to eat that. I want to do that." And then, like I said the other day, Senna came. We made a salad, majority from the garden. She said,
yeah.
"Best salad I've ever had." And I'm
Yeah.
like,
And
"Do you know
keep
what,
it
man?
simple.
It's simple. It's not complicated."
No.
A little bit of elbow grease, getting on your knees and doing all that stuff with growing it. But even if you're not growing it, you don't that doesn't seem possibility in your lifestyle.
Mm,
Like you said, get the best you can. The other thing
mm.
I've realised, I know this is obvious, but I don't always go by it. But it's like you don't need to eat as much as you think you do.
No, you
Like
don't.
really, that's the other thing. Is like this whole thing of eating 3 times a day. We generally eat once a day, sometimes twice a day.
Yeah.
Actually, more often twice, but
Yes, I eat twice a
some,
day. I eat
sometimes
twice
once
a
a
day.
day, right?
Yeah.
And when I
So
eat once a day,
the
I just
tip
feel,
the tip for me around that is eat more slowly. Most
mm,
people I see are eating in a rush, in a hurry. Eat more slowly, enjoy each mouthful, and you will find you're starting to leave food on the plate.
mm,
And therefore and I mean, plates have got so much bigger than they used to be. Kitchen
mm,
cupboards have got bigger to accommodate bigger plates.
mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Carol, it's been a delight. I've really enjoyed it. It's just I feel like it's a connection, conduit to a past shared period of my
Yeah.
life. It was lovely having you part of that. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
being on the show. And if you want to get in touch with Carol around your health or your diet, please do. I'll put her details below this video. Please like and subscribe to the video, share them. Let me know if there's anything you'd like me to talk about. I've got a motor racing guest who's a racing driver coming on to the next show on Thursday. So we're having lots of wild and variety of really lovely people coming and sharing their experiences. So thanks for being on the show, Carol. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you.
It's lovely.
Is that all right?
Yeah, it's all right. You'll go
Don't sound don't sound very enthusiastic.
first.